Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the topic of not comparing yourself to others when it comes to your relationship or your service to God. I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can explain this to the best of my ability. But in the Bible, when we look in the Bible, in the book of Psalms, it says in chapter 37, never envy wicked men or never envy the wicked. And in Proverbs 24:1, it says, do not envy wicked men nor desire their company. Now, here it talks about wicked men. And the reason I'm coming up with this is because I was thinking about it because I was listening to a teaching of Kim Clement where he was answering the question of, if you kill yourself or if you suicide yourself, can you still go to heaven, or is there, no way for you to go to heaven because you didn't repent? And he says, well, suicide is a sin like any other sin. He goes, so he's basically saying like he doesn't think that would hinder you from going to heaven, right? And to be honest with you, I know a lot of people are not gonna like this, but I kind of agree with him. I've heard testimonies of people that they have killed themselves and they have come back and said, when they did this, the Lord, they had an encounter with God and God told them like, this is wrong, you're not supposed to do this, but God gave them another chance. So I'm like, okay, well, God gave them a chance, I don't know the answer to that. This is what Kim Clement was saying, and I agree with him. I understand where he's coming from, but I was thinking, God, that would seem very unfair. It would seem very unfair. Just like the man on the cross, the thief who died next to Jesus, and he lived this horrible, sinful life his whole life. He never repented, right? And then at the last minute, he says, well, Jesus, don't forget about me. And Jesus says, oh, okay, well, today I promise you're going to be with me in heaven. Someone would see that and be like, well, that's not fair. Like, what about me? I served God my whole life, and I'm gonna get the same reward this man is gonna get of going to heaven. It reminds me of the prodigal son, actually. The prodigal son, if you guys remember, his brother was envious and jealous because the father threw a party for him and he gave him a robe and a ring, and the brother was like, I've been here this whole time serving you and you haven't done this for me, and yet you're doing it for my brother. And then the father answered him and said, well, you've been here with me all this time, you could have had that whenever. Which is my point. My point is, what people don't realize is that we have God, and if we have God, we have everything. One of my friends told me, like, Sandra, don't you think it's unfair, like, if we serve God and we follow God and we're lacking in something, but then someone that doesn't, serve or know God, and they have this, and this, and I'm like, no, because I have God. Like, I have the best. And it reminds me of, in the Bible, the merchant. It's in the book of Matthew. It's in the book of Matthew 13:45. It's the merchant that went and he found this pearl, and he realized that this pearl was of such high value that it was worth more than everything he had combined plus more. So he sold everything he had, right? And he dug the pearl in the land, and it says that he went and he bought up the land. I remember a long time ago I was talking to this person, this woman from a church, and she said she had a dream that she wanted to go through a doorway. But when she wanted to go through a doorway, she had so much baggage and so many things, so many material things that she couldn't fit through the door. So in order for her to fit through the door, she had to let go of it and leave it all behind. But it was so hard for her. She was like, kind of like the rich man that Jesus says, go sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and then come follow me. Like, you have too much baggage on you. You can't have that in order to come through the door to the next level of glory that I have for you. But because you can't see what's in the next level, then you limit yourself and you block yourself, and then so she had to make a decision. Am I going to leave all of this behind and go through the door, or am I going to just not receive what God has for me and the blessings God has for me because I want to live my own life and I want to do things my own way? And then this is where this comes in, right? It also reminds me, because we tend to be like this, like, oh, this is unfair and this is unjust. I actually had one of my workers that I work with, he was like, oh, Sandra, this is unfair. And I'm like, look, please stop whining. Like, stop, stop. It's not a big deal. But we are always like this. Humans are like this. In the Bible also, we see in the book of Matthew, chapter 20, verses 1-16, where Jesus hires these men to go work at his vineyard. And he tells them, I'm going to pay you a fair, wage of this much money. And then throughout the day, he goes hiring more people and more workers. And he tells his servants to pay the last ones that he hired first. So when he pays the last ones, he gives them a certain amount of money. And then the ones that worked since the morning were like, oh, wow, if they gave him that means that they're going to give us more. So when it's time to pay the ones that worked in the morning and they pay them the same thing, the ones in the morning start complaining. And they start saying, well, that's not fair. We've been working longer and you're paying them the same thing. And the worker was like, well, how much did I tell you I was going to pay you? And they were like, this much. And he goes, well, isn't that what I'm paying you? And they were like, yes, but. And it was like, no, but nothing. This is my money. And if I choose to be graceful and merciful to the others and I want to pay them the same thing, then what is it to you? It kind of reminds me of when Peter told Jesus, well, what about John? And Jesus was like, you know what? If I want John to live forever and not die, then what is it to you? It's like, mind your business. Like, basically what he's trying to teach us is don't compare, because you don't understand what's deeper on the other side. And one thing I can compare this to, a visual, is, and the Lord showed me this. My best friend, she bought a dog. It's a Cane Corso. He's beautiful. He has this silver fur and blue eyes. Beautiful. When she got him, he was a puppy and he was out of control. Like, he would not pay attention to anyone. Very stubborn, very, very strong character. And he would bite, and he would bite hard. He would bite, not like a puppy bite, because I've been bit by puppies and it's okay. He would bite hard. Like, I didn't even want to be around him because I was afraid that he would like lash skin off of me. That's how hard he would bite. And one day she called me crying and she was like, Tanja, I don't know what to do. I don't want to give him up, but I don't want him to be a risk. I don't want my family to be afraid of my own dog when he grows older, because he's wild, So they made a decision and they decided they were going to invest a good chunk of money to train him so that they can keep him. And so he went to training and it was worth it. He came back and now he was disciplined. He pays attention. He's no longer biting and acting all wild and stuff, right? He had to go through training in order for this to happen. And the Lord was showing me, Sandra, imagine, his name is Thanos. Imagine Thanos would be paying attention and in his place, and then he would see other dogs running around wild, doing whatever they want, and he would be jealous of them, and he would be like, well, this is not fair. I'm here paying the price, paying attention to my owners and being a good dog, and all of these other dogs are just doing whatever they want. And maybe he thinks, well, that's not fair. But what he doesn't know is that the only reason he has owners and they kept him was because he is being a good dog. And what he doesn't understand is that maybe those other dogs, the owners, don't take him on vacation with them because they can't trust them to behave good, to not go outside and maybe get run over by a car, to not maybe bite someone. But he gets taken on vacation. What he doesn't see maybe is that, and he started showing me this, and he goes, so sometimes we compare ourselves to other people, or we think, oh, well, what is this, what is that? But what we don't understand is that we have our rewards for obeying God, while those other people, they have a whole lot of open doors and they're a risk that God can't trust them with certain blessings. It's like a parent that has a child, and as much as you want to bless that child with buying them a car, you're like, my kid is too wild. They want to speed. They don't follow rules. They don't pay attention. It's a risk to their own life. It's a risk to the life of others. I cannot afford to bless them no matter how much I would want to bless them. So sometimes God tells us not to do things and it's for our own protection. And sometimes we see others and we think, well, that's not fair. And what we don't understand is we got it better. Like the father, when he said to the son, you've been here this whole time. Like, you've been under my roof. You've been protected. He was eating with the other pigs. He was going hungry. You don't even know what you're talking about. You have no idea what your brother was going through. You had it good all this time. You had my blessing. You had my protection. You had my provision. And here you are jealous of your brother because now I want to be good and merciful and kind to him because he went through hell and back and he decided to repent and come to me. So we gotta realize that having God is like having that pearl. That's the comparison. That's the concept. When we have God, we have everything. We don't have to look, oh, but this person has this. It doesn't matter. That's nothing. That is what Jesus said. Leave that behind and follow me because I'm the greater reward. Leave all that junk behind and come through the door. I want to show you more. I want to give you greater glories. So guys, I hope this hits home. Thanks for watching. God bless and have a nice day.